Hi everybody, Christina here. And I saw yesterday on Twitter that Book Confessions was trending, and I thought it would be fun if I shared some of my book confessions with you guys. So here's a top 10 list. It's not really in top 10 from juiciness, more like these are the things that were on my mind, so I'm going to go ahead and share them with you. So number 10 is I keep a diary of all of the crazy typos I have when I fall asleep writing. So what will usually happen is I'm reading what I wrote to my youngest sister, and then while I'm in the midst of reading, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? And she's like, what is it? And then I'll read it to her, and she's cracking up, and I'm just like, man, how this happened? Because some of them are just crazy, like maybe you can see you typing this when you're tired, but some of them are like completely off the wall. So maybe one day I'll release that when the book gets thick enough and enough people care. But it's pretty funny. Number 9, I have a folder of cast members for my books when they're made into movies. They're totally outdated now, and it was kind of not going to happen when it was made, but it's always fun to do. I know I'm not the only author to do it. Like I know Stephanie Meyer had like Tom Welling in mind for Emmett when she made, Twilight, and Henry Cavill was supposed to be Edward, and it just would have been like a totally different movie. Super, super, maybe more amazing movie, because those are like my kind of guys. I had Jensen Ackles in there. I had Sean Ferris in there. Of course, they're older than I'd like them to be. If I could turn back time. So I did that for another book that I did. Folder I had for a book called The Diary of Annalisa. The only actor right now I can think of off the top of my head that's in there would be Zac Efron, and I think he'd make a pretty darn hot vampire. So, Zac, if you're watching, you want to make that happen, just let me know. Number 8. This was something that my youngest sister thought was worth mentioning because it wasn't something that I really noticed or cared about until she had mentioned it one day. I'll just read to her and I'll instinctively just start reading with different voices. And I'm sure just about everybody on the planet does that, but I guess she just thinks sometimes I'll be talking. She's like, don't talk to me in your Felix voice. I'm like, they're all my voices. What are you talking about? I don't think it's that crazy. I think it's pretty common, but Tina thought it was worth mentioning. Number 7, in my bio at the end of my books, it says that I would like to one day win the Celebrity Apprentice. And I've always been a huge fan of The Apprentice. And I felt like I had seen Donald enough in the boardroom to feel like if I had the possible war chest, which, I'll one day have because everyone's going to buy my books and they're going to get made into movies, so I'll have the war chest and I'll know the people have the connections, so I'll be able to compete. I felt like I knew Donald enough from over our years of our relationship, from me watching the show, that I could navigate my way properly through the boardroom and make it to the end. Number 6, I really don't like writing anything that's not in first person, but I like writing in first person because I don't know, you're just so true and honest with their voices, and you just connect, and they're just flowing right through you, their words, their emotions, their feelings, everything. So it's just so much easier to tell it from their eyes. I mean, the only thing that sucks about it is something else really awesome is happening somewhere else in the story, and you can't tell that because your character's not there to experience it. But overall, I really like writing in first person. The majority of my things that I put out will continue to be in first person. Number 5, which again isn't anything that's uncommon. I often start a story without knowing the important details of where it's going to go. I try to most of the time write down like a summary and go from there. The best example I can think of what I'm talking about would be Sunrise Sunset. I had no idea what Roxy and Lila were to make them so special. Were they an alien? Were they mutants? Were they experimented on in a lab? Those were things that I was really trying to figure out. Number 4, I sometimes write to dubstep. Mostly when I'm writing fight scenes. Be weird to write romantic scenes. Usually when it's a romantic scene, I'm listening to romance music. KB Zone Out remix is my life. Tunnel vision, yeah, I'm focused on the light. He's with me. Can't see a thing cause I'm focused on the Christ. I love that song so much. So that's another one. And of course, Titanium. Number 3. Sometimes when I write emotional scenes, I cry. And that goes back to the thing about being, writing in first person perspective. It's like you're filtering and you're channeling these characters, and you're getting them down on paper. And so, I mean, they're going through an ordeal. They're saying, they're falling in love, they're falling out of love, they're being hurt, they're wounded, they're scared, whatever. So I have to somehow reach into the world of fiction and filter it into a page, and it's just an emotional process. Number 2, the epic romances that my characters experience are just kind of exclusively right now to my characters. My family is really big on abstinence and waiting until you're married to consummate your relationship. I'm not ashamed to be a virgin. It's very important to me to stay pure until I'm married. Some of my characters are married, some don't share my values, some of them are skanky. You want to be true to your characters and what they would do in certain situations. Some people who know me are surprised how well I write my romantic scenes with kissing and alluding. I mean, it's all pretty PG-13 stuff. You get the gist of what's going on. I always try to focus on the emotional connection that characters are making, and I watch the CW. So I think I do enough, and people really like my romantic scenes. If you're looking for erotica, I'm not your gal. But I'm very proud of what I put on the page. I feel like it's convincing, it's satisfying, but not smutty. And my number one book confession is when I saw Breaking Dawn Part 1, I cried. And I'm not some kind of twihard person. That's not the reason why. And I'm not that type of person that really goes and just cries in movies. Man, even though I did cry during X-Men Last Stand when Xavier died. The scene where I cried was during the wedding, when Bella was walking down the aisle and you could see Stephenie Meyer there at her character's wedding. I wasn't jealous of her success, even though every time I go to the movies, it's very hard for me not to feel like, oh, this should be my book, being made into a movie, and I just feel so anxious about it. Feel anxious about it, excited about it, a little sad that it hasn't happened yet, but I was so happy for her and so overwhelmed with emotion for her. I can't imagine how happy she must have been, how fulfilled she must have been being there. So Kudos to her. So those are my top 10 book confessions. What are some of yours? Please leave a comment at the bottom or go ahead and tweet me at ninjadustpub. And please visit www.ninjadustpublishing.com to find out more about the awesome books that I mentioned during this video, the ones that I didn't, and the ones that are to come. I know you're intrigued. All right. Goodbye, guys.